Welcome to Integral Martial Arts. Yeah. We're here in sunny Santa Barbara, California. Yeah. And it's great to meet you in person and get to train.
Same here. That's what I wanted to say too. It's finally me and Nathanael are seeing each other face to face, getting to train not through Skype. This is quite surreal. Looking forward. And what's the menu today? What's the plan?
Yeah, so the full disclaimer is Integral Martial Arts is mixed martial arts for self-defense. Yeah. So for us, it's about developing yourself on the mat and off the mat. Yeah. You can develop your mindset, you can get coaching for that. You can develop your skill set, you can get coaching for that. Yeah. So I think the history that we share, having emerged from an Aikido background, isn't to say, does Aikido work? No, we know the training methodology of Aikido, if it doesn't have aliveness, or of any traditional martial art, it isn't going to be functional without the pressure testing, without the aliveness. However, can we pressure test some of the techniques of Aikido to see if we can work them into the clinch or into our overall game plan, because they're just tools. I think the other thing is that's to do with the skill set, but you can also still have an Aikido mindset. So if you're training for self-defense, what does it mean still to be responding to an attack and to try to control the person without hurting them? I think some of the best fighters are ironically the best at Aikido because they can use the skill set they have to control someone without having to smash them. So, but you know, to earn that right, you have to be able to protect yourself first. Then maybe we can talk about, can you protect someone else? So I think the Aikido mindset is the Jiu-Jitsu mindset in a certain sense, and that they share in common. So we're going to use the I method again today to introduce a technique with just a little minimal amount of explanation. And then we're going to isolate it with a drill. We'll probably do that several times with different techniques. And then can you integrate it actually into regular sparring? So if we pick up where we left off and we just think about from a broad perspective, what are the techniques of Aikido that we might have a chance of pulling off? I think the one that you just did a fun video on recently was Kotegaeshi. The other ones I've found setups for are Nikyo and Sankyo, so all the wrist locking techniques. And then with the throwing techniques, it's tough because as many people observe, it's just going to turn into judo, or if it doesn't, you'd prefer judo or wrestling to the techniques that you have available. They're not a high percentage option. So it tends to want to have wrestling integrated with it to set it up. And then it's up for you guys to say that's not Aikido. And I think you'd be right. It's not really Aikido, and it includes very similar movements. And it could still be called an Ariminage or a Tsukiyage, if you like. So why don't we start with just the first one and then pressure test it a little bit. So you've been an Aikido instructor for many years, but if someone's hands are hanging out, then the one big move that I make different about Kotegaeshi is it's not about catching the bullet out of the air. You cannot catch the punch. So in the first place, we're just going to separate the striking. And can you even find the position at all? So if the hand is available, that's all you need to learn is how to grab on. So the thumbs between the little fingers, knuckles on the ends, and you're just gluing on. So you might just introduce it like that and do that a few times. Can you just grab it if it's available? Almost like you're wrestling in here.
I'm just like going for it.
Are you going to be able to grab it? Just here. So I'll do that a few times. Maybe switch sides so it's available on the front hand side. Can I set myself up in that spiral motion just to grab it and extend you off your center a little bit? So simple. On the other side again, just circling, spiraling. Can I melt on? So just try that.
So your arm. So it's not only catching, but also drawing a little bit.
Drawing off a little bit, A nice koku spiral, as we would say. And notice it's more like judo, uchikomi, like do 10, 20 entries. Simplify the movement, and then maybe one throw, and we'll do that after. Because it's the setup that you need, and a functional setup, not a Yokomanuchi setup.
Or Shomanuchi.
Or Shomanuchi, or Munetsuki, or any kind of ski. So now let's just complete the throw. So I can open my hand to help create the spiral, and I don't want to go over here and do this big spiral, because in my experience, not going to work. I want to use connecting to your center, and then to just step to the side and turn it over. It might be that I go in to do it. It might be I just step to the side. Now what works about that is it hurts.
Right.
But it's going to require some timing as well. So let's try this one. 1, and then 2. The only detail is as I step out, I'm not turning to the side so much as I'm doing like a waterfall or a roller coaster. I mean a Ferris wheel, pardon me.
Right.
So now we're doing it in 2 steps. 1, connection. And how do I know there's connection? Because if you lean back, it moves me. If I lean back, it moves you. So it's the kazushi in judo, same thing. And then I'm going to keep that tension pulled and throw. So you go ahead.
Okay. So you're here.
Keep it tight and roll it over. Yep.
And bring forward. So here.
Nice. Yep. So here's another one I've seen in a jiu-jitsu tournament. Is the guy threw, and then he literally just dropped down here.
Oh,
and that was the guy out.
Wow.
And maybe you can't see that on video, so let's do the other
let's
side.
do the other side.
So he literally he caught it, he pulled it, he threw, and then he squared up and just pushed down.
Yeah, crazy.
Now, self-defense-wise, you just break the wrist maybe, but for sport, it worked in sport.
Nice, I never thought about it.
Try that.
Sure thing. So here, and pressing the elbow down.
Just push.
Here. Crazy.
So that's the introduction. In what context would we be isolating it? Well, probably grip fighting.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume you guys know how to do that. So if we're in here, you know, you can break out in a number of ways: cross gripping, elbow uppercutting.
Yeah.
So if we just play at this distance, which is, you know, a wide grappling distance, really, can you play the grip fighting game and find your Kotegaeshi?
Right.
And without having to start engaged,
Right.
like start like you would in a tournament, let's start out wide, and then we can play with grip fighting and finding the Kotegaeshi.
Right.
And let's do it as an offense-defense. My preference, if you're going to have an Aikido mindset, is you're defending yourself. It's self-defense, so there's always offense-defense.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you don't strike,
Yeah.
but it means you're still clear that you're defending yourself. So let's play with it, and I'll be the defender first. So you shut me down with a productive amount of distress, some aliveness. And let's see, maybe I can't pull it off on Rokas because he's taught Aikido for 20 years or whatever it is.
And should I increase procedurally, like step by step the resistance, or go like a 80-90% resistance straight away? Like what?
Yeah, I would say don't let me do it.
Okay.
But don't fight like you're fighting at 90, 100%.
Right.
So if we start at moving 50, 60, then it'll go up to 80, 90, and then that'll be fine.
Perfect.
Okay.
Got it.
Hajime.
Nice.
Okay.
It's nice to meet you.
Okay?
Yeah.
So resist more, don't let me do it.
Okay, I'm
Don't let me do
gradually
it.
progressing, so.
Yeah.
See, where's the limit?
And actually, let's pause for a minute. So what are you noticing? What's working or not working?
So
as we're setting it up?
Initially I was gradually raising up the resistance, so not letting it be done, but also seeing where was the moment where if I don't like pull everything together, it'll work. And it was great. Like I really liked that knee release, and that caught me off guard. I didn't know this one. And when you did it, while I was processing what's happening, you got the Kotegaeshi. The last one was really nice. What helped me is, as you said, since the Aikido background is there, like even the Kaishi Waza in Aikido, the Kotegaeshi versus Kotegaeshi, the one where when it's done, you spin into it. I think it develops that sense of how to counter the wrist lock itself. And I felt that kicking in. Like when you would catch me, my mind would go like, okay, if I turn the wrist here, the Kotegaeshi is just not comfortable to do. So I felt I was relying on that. But by the very end, whatever you did, probably you switched like hands or something. I was defending this one and you got the other one. I think that's what happened. That definitely worked. So.
Okay. For me, I noticed that as soon as we're talking about grabbing, even a regular grab, like I want to go this way and tear it off, which we're taught as well.
Right.
Maybe switch or try to.
Yeah.
And then I also catch that I want to do more of this kind of a setup, which is the other one I want to do, because that's available. What doesn't work is, don't take this to mean Aikido works, because every time you're fighting for some kind of wrist throw, you're getting double-legged. So that's the thing, is like, what's the trade-off? And that's what doesn't work. And let's keep playing with it, because this just gives the feel of aliveness, and critical thinking has been another topic. So you try, and then and what percent do you think you were resisting?
Initially, like 50, 60. Last one was 70, 75. But I mean, like that. I mean, by not using my like muscle and like that kind of rage of I'm not gonna let you do that by any means necessary. That's 100%. Just like crazy competition level. But it was like 75 at the end, 75, 80.
So it's good to talk about this. So let's redefine the parameters.
Right. Okay.
For me, let's say that when it starts to feel competitive is when you're over 50%. And why is that important? Because otherwise, it seems like you thought you were going 80%, but it was just beginning to feel competitive.
Sure. Yeah.
So really, if you were, if I said I'll pay you $100, don't let me throw you. Then we'd maybe be getting into the upper reaches of 70, 80%.
Got it. Okay.
And that is a great level set, because if we're going to do this with a critical thinking, pressure testing mindset, we have to be real. Like, did he let me do that?
Sure.
Did it work?
Yeah, definitely.
So let's see. I'll give you a percentage, 50, 60.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
Awesome.
The last detail is that you could think about it as, if you succeed 4 times out of 10, then I'm at 60% for you.
Yeah.
So it's dynamic also.
Yeah, sure.
So for the sake of learning would be different than pressure testing. And it's ultimately different. All right, enough talking. Let's do it. Go ahead. So I'll just grab and shut you down. So what percent am I at, you know?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So how does that feel? What worked? What didn't?
Good. Initially, and maybe I think it's probably the 2 layers. One is maybe poor level of some of the training I received instructionally wise as a student, but also the lack of pressure testing in Aikido. Because, can I do this? Like when I was taught Aikido, it was more about connecting through the arm into the center, where that connection is there, and the wrist is just an add-on, which would work with a compliant partner with a little resistance. But with you, I noticed like structurally you're too strong for me to try to throw this through only that connection. And then you mentioned before, like, so I was trying to do that, didn't work. And when I applied what you mentioned, like really going for the wrist, that's when it happened. So it took me a while to get that. I was like, not there, not there. Oh, okay, there it is. So that happened.
So the body mechanics of how the wrist turns.
Yeah, and how actually this actually does throw this, rather than the whole idea of, oh, I try to throw the center, which may work, but I couldn't get it.
That's the irony of the jujitsu, the jitsu coming before judo. It's like, or the jujitsu that leads to the aikido.
Yeah.
Like aikido, the perfect timing and the flow, like that's on the other side of hundreds of hours of sparring, wrestling. Yeah. So it's like the way to get to aikido is through jujitsu and wrestling.
Yeah.
But we're taught like, oh, just practice the blend or connection.
Yeah, which is the supreme level.
Yeah, and then you bypass what actually gets you there.
Right, exactly.